Alert Safety Desk, a new program aimed at reducing violence in the community, and there's training available for those who work with high-risk youth. Kristen Allen is in for Aisha this morning. So, Kristen, what does this training do?
The Green Bay Office of Violence and Prevention is offering this training, and it's part of a national program called Rewire CBT. It's an evidence-based approach that pulls from a cognitive behavior therapy to help young people learn and practice life-saving skills. It's an effort to really help them heal from trauma and make healthier and safer choices. In the big picture, Rewire CBT's goal is to help our community overcome barriers to accessing support in care in traditional clinical settings and bringing some of those best practices directly to the community. So ideal candidates for this training are those frontline staff who work directly with youth who are closest to actual or potential violence. And this training is happening next month on February 19th and 20th. There will also be 2 follow-up virtual trainings. To register or for more information, you can go to our website, wbay.com/links. Tammy?
All right.